Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dive deep into Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's absolutely groundbreaking work, The Body Keeps the Score. Seriously, this book has completely changed the game in how we understand trauma, not as some old story that happened way back when, but as a living, breathing imprint on our brains, our minds, and our bodies, right now. So let's just start with this question, because it gets right to the heart of everything. Van der Kolk is basically asking us to think about this. What if all those confusing, distressing reactions we have, that sudden panic, that flash of rage, that feeling of numbness, what if they aren't signs that our minds are broken? What if they're just echoes of things our bodies can't forget? You see, for years, Dr. van der Kolk has been making this powerful argument that we can't just talk our way out of trauma. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack his central idea that trauma gets stored in the body. And that means real healing, well, it requires us to listen to what our bodies are trying to tell us, to befriend them, and to help them finally understand that the danger is over. All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the biology of trauma and how the body literally holds on to memories. Then we'll look at how this all spills over into our relationships. And after that, we'll get to the hopeful part, the amazing pathways to recovery that go way beyond just talking, focusing on calming our bodies and truly reclaiming ourselves. Okay, let's dive right into part one. Because to even begin to understand healing, we've got to get what trauma actually is on a biological level. It's not some kind of weakness or a character flaw. It's a real physiological injury. Now, this is such a crucial distinction. The book makes it super clear. The event itself, the car crash, the abuse, the war, that's the trigger. The trauma is what happens inside. It's that unbearable internal experience when our ability to cope is just completely swamped, leaving our nervous system stuck on and unable to get back to feeling safe. So what happens is trauma literally rewires our brain's alarm system. Think of your amygdala as the brain's smoke detector. After trauma, it gets crazy sensitive. It's smelling smoke everywhere. Meanwhile, the hippocampus, which is like our memory filer, it gets fuzzy. It can't tell the difference between a memory of danger and an actual threat happening right now. And to top it all off, the prefrontal cortex, the rational watchtower that's supposed to say, hey, relax, it's just burnt toast, it just goes offline. It leaves the raw emotional part of the brain driving the bus. And believe it or not, this isn't some brand new idea. Researchers who were studying veterans after World War I saw this decades ago. They came up with this term physioneurosis, which is, a fancy way of saying it's a physical disorder rooted in the body, not just a mental one. They saw that these guys were living in a state of chronic vigilance, a sensitivity to threat that was literally in their muscles and their gut reactions. And this story just illustrates the impact perfectly. Van der Kolk tells us about Stan and Ute, a couple who survived this horrifying 87-car pileup. Now, they walked away without a scratch, physically. But for months, they were irritable, jumpy, they couldn't sleep. Their bodies were still braced for impact, completely unable to feel safe. Their experience just shows that even when your conscious mind knows it's over, your body keeps the score. So this brings us to our next really big question. If the rational, word-making parts of the brain shut down during trauma, then how in the world does the experience get stored? Well, that's what we're going to explore now. How the body holds on to memories that the conscious mind just can't get to. This is exactly why survivors so often say, I have no words for it. And they're telling you a literal neurological truth. During a terrifying moment, an area of the brain called Broca's area, the speech center, it can just shut down. So what's left isn't some neat story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. No, it's a mess of fragments, a smell, a sound, a feeling in your gut, a flash of an image, and just overwhelming terror. It drives us, as van der Kolk says, to the very edge of comprehension. And this slide, wow, it visually captures one of the brain's most incredible survival tricks, dissociation. To get through something unbearable, the mind literally separates from the body. This drawing is from one of van der Kolk's patients, and it shows how she escaped her abuse by floating up to the ceiling and watching it happen to some other little girl down there. It's a genius survival tool in the moment, but you can see how it creates this profound, long-lasting disconnect from your own body and feelings. At our core, our brains are social. We are absolutely wired for connection. So it's really no surprise that trauma, especially the stuff that happens when we're young, has a massive impact on our ability to connect with other people, to trust, and to feel safe in relationships. The book really hammers home that our first relationships are where we learn to handle our own nervous systems. when a caregiver responds when we cry, when we're hungry, when we're scared. They're teaching us that what we feel inside is valid and it can be managed. That's called attunement. But in a home where a kid's needs are ignored or even punished, they learn a really dangerous lesson. My feelings are wrong, my body isn't a safe place. And that sets them up to shut down all that vital feedback from their body and builds this deep-seated distrust in others. And this drive for connection, it's just primal. Kolk tells this tragic story of a 14-year-old boy named Jack who kept getting arrested for breaking into houses. And when they asked him why, he explains that being recognized by the police, hearing them shout, "Oh my God, it's Jack again," that was the only time he ever felt truly seen by anyone. It was a twisted, painful connection, but it was the only one he had. It just shows you how devastating it is to not have that healthy attachment. So if trauma isn't stored in the storytelling part of our brain, but in the sensory, physical part, then healing has to involve more than just talking, right? This brings us to the really exciting and hopeful part of the book. All these therapies that work from the bottom up, starting with the body. Kolk makes such a powerful point here. Traditional top-down talk therapy, it's great, it's valuable for making sense of our story, but a lot of the time it just can't reach the animal brain, those pre-verbal, sensory parts where the trauma is actually living. And that's where bottom-up approaches come in. They work directly with your body's sensations, your breath, your movement, to help your nervous system finally let go and learn to feel safe. The logic is totally flipped. By calming your body, you can actually change how you think and feel. The book opens up this whole amazing toolbox of these body-based pathways. You've got yoga, which helps people learn to actually live in their bodies again and notice sensations without freaking out. There's EMDR, which helps the brain process and file away traumatic memories properly. Neurofeedback gives you direct feedback on your own brainwaves, helping you learn to shift into calmer states. All of these things have one goal in common, helping you reconnect with your physical self and get back that sense of safety and control from the inside out. And this slide just makes that whole idea of retraining the brain so real, so visible. On the left, you can see these chaotic, dysregulated brainwave patterns that are super common for people with trauma. But on the right, after neurofeedback, look at that. It's so much more coherent, calm, and focused. This is literally a picture of a brain learning a new way to be. It shows that we can actively change the very electrical patterns that keep us stuck in that fight or flight mode. Okay, this brings us to one of the most critical principles in the entire book. Before you can ever make sense of a traumatic story, you have to feel safe in your own skin first. This part is all about that first non-negotiable step in all healing, physiological regulation. You absolutely cannot reason with someone who is terrified. You just can't. Their rational brain isn't even online. So the work has to start here with these simple, powerful, body-based techniques. It starts with just noticing. What does that anxiety actually feel like in my chest? Then it moves to using your breath as an anchor, which sends a direct signal of safety to your brainstem. It involves grounding, literally feeling your feet on the floor, reminding your body that you are here now, and the danger is over. And finally, finding safety and connection, because our nervous systems are designed to calm down around others. This is the foundation, and you have to build it first. So the final stage of healing, it's not just about managing symptoms or feeling less awful. It's about integration, it's about connection, and it's about living a full, vibrant life. It's about moving from being a survivor to, well, to being a thriver. Think about it. The core feeling of trauma is often just utter helplessness, a total loss of control. So the antidote has to be competence and agency. Kolk shows how getting involved in communal, rhythmic, purposeful activities can be incredibly healing. Things like martial arts, theater, even singing in a choir. They help people get back in sync with others. They teach cause and effect. They rebuild social bonds. And they give you back that sense of personal effectiveness, that feeling of I can do this, which is the total opposite of the helplessness trauma creates. And this, right here, is really the ultimate takeaway from the entire book. Recovery is not about erasing the past. It's not about getting amnesia for what happened. Those memories, they'll probably always be there, but healing means changing your relationship to them. It means the past no longer gets to hijack your body and your mind in the present. It's about teaching your nervous system on a deep, deep cellular level that you are safe now. So we'll leave you with this final reflective question, which really comes from the heart of The Body Keeps the Score. If we can accept that our bodies hold our stories, our joys, and our wounds, then the invitation is simply to start listening. To listen with compassion, with curiosity, and without judgment. To the profound wisdom your own body has been trying to share with you all along.